First contact shock. Zaxlery nervously adjusted her translucent, iridescent wings as she stepped off the teleportation pad. The swirling energies dissipated around her, revealing a bustling atrium filled with a cacophony of sounds, scents, and sights that overwhelmed her senses. She blinked her large compound eyes, trying to focus on the crowd of beings before her. Humans. So many humans. As the first Nexilian exchange student to Earth, Zaxlery had prepared extensively for this moment. She had studied human physiology, culture, and history for years. Everything she learned pointed to one conclusion. Humans were a fragile, primitive species that had somehow stumbled their way into the galactic community. A loud voice cut through the noise. "Welcome to Earth Central University. All new arrivals, please proceed to the orientation hall." Zaxlery's antennae twitched as she tried to locate the source of the sound. She spotted a human female standing on a raised platform, using some kind of amplification device. Curious. Their technology seemed more advanced than she'd been led to believe. As she made her way through the crowd, Zaxlery couldn't help but marvel at the diversity of human forms around her. They came in a startling array of colors, sizes, and shapes, far more varied than her own species. Some were clearly augmented with cybernetic enhancements, while others appeared to be baseline humans. A sudden impact nearly knocked Zaxlery off her feet. She stumbled, her exoskeleton absorbing most of the shock. "Oh man, I'm so sorry." A human male steadied her with a strong grip. "Are you okay?" Zaxlery chittered in surprise. The human's reaction time was impressive, and his strength unexpected. "I am unharmed," she replied, her translator converting her clicks and whistles into human speech. "Thank you for your concern." The human smiled, revealing blunt teeth. "No problem. I'm Jake, by the way. You must be one of the new exchange students." "Affirmative. I am Zaxlery of Nexilia Prime." Jake's eyes widened. "Whoa, Nexilia. That's like, what, 500 light-years from here? That's so cool. How was your journey?" Zaxlery's mandibles clicked in confusion. This human's enthusiasm was perplexing. The journey was uneventful. I utilized standard faster-than-light travel, followed by targeted quantum teleportation for planetfall. "Standard FTL and quantum teleportation," she says. Jake laughed. "Man, I can't wait until we perfect our own KT tech. The theories are solid, but the energy requirements are still insane." Zaxlery's compound eyes flickered in surprise. This human spoke of advanced physics with casual ease. Perhaps he was one of their scientific elites. "Are you a professor here?" she inquired. Jake laughed again. "Me? Nah, I'm just a second-year engineering student. Quantum mechanics is more of a hobby, you know." Before Zaxlery could process this information, a loud klaxon sounded. The crowd began to move with purpose towards a large set of doors. "That's the orientation bell," Jake explained. "We should head in. Want to sit together? I can fill you in on some of the ECU quirks." Zaxlery hesitated. Her cultural briefing had warned about human deception, but Jake seemed genuinely friendly. That would be acceptable, she decided. As they entered the vast orientation hall, Zaxlery's senses were once again assaulted. The room was a marvel of engineering, with holographic displays floating above the seats and a dome that seemed to shimmer with stars. Thousands of students, human and alien alike, filled the auditorium. Jake led her to a row of seats near the front. As they sat down, Zaxlery noticed the chairs automatically adjusting to accommodate her alien physiology. Another surprise. A hush fell over the crowd as a holographic figure materialized on the stage. It was a human female, her form flickering with data streams and complex equations. "Greetings, new students of Earth Central University. I am Dr. Ilara Chen, your eye orientation guide. On behalf of the faculty, staff, and your fellow students, welcome to the greatest adventure of your lives." Zaxlery's antennae quivered. and artificial intelligence of this complexity. Impossible. Her people had long theorized about such creations, but to see one in action, created by humans no less, was beyond belief. Dr. Chen continued, her voice resonating through the hall. You have come from across the galaxy, seeking knowledge, understanding, and growth. Here at ECU, we pride ourselves on pushing the boundaries of science, art, and culture. Our mission is to prepare you for a future where the only constant is change. The hologram gestured, and the dome above transformed into a breathtaking view of the Milky Way. In this era of interstellar cooperation, we face challenges that transcend individual species or planets. Climate change, dark energy manipulation, dimensional rifts. These are just a few of the problems that require diverse perspectives and collaborative solutions. Zaxlery leaned towards Jake, her voice a low whisper. Your kind speaks of such matters openly. These are issues that even the Nixilian High Council debates in secret. Jake shrugged. Why keep it secret? The more people know about a problem, the more minds we have working on solutions. This casual approach to galaxy-shaking issues left Zaxlery reeling. Everything she'd been taught about humans, their fragility, their intellectual limitations, their technological backwardness, seemed to be crumbling by the minute. Dr. Chen's hologram expanded, filling the stage with a dazzling display of scientific achievements. At ECU, you'll have access to cutting-edge research facilities. Our zero-gravity labs, quantum computing clusters, and psionics department are just a few of the resources at your disposal. Psionics. Zaxlery's mind raced. Humans had unlocked the power of the mind. As if reading her thoughts, Jake leaned in. The psionics department is pretty new. Turns out humans have some latent abilities. Who knew, right? I'm taking an elective there next semester. Zaxlery's mandibles clicked rapidly, a sign of extreme agitation in her species. This was too much. Humans weren't supposed to be capable of such things. They were supposed to be simple, easily understood, controllable. The orientation continued, but Zaxlery barely registered the words. Her mind was awash with new information, each revelation more shocking than the last. Humans had colonies on Mars and Europa. They were experimenting with Dyson swarms around their sun. They had made first contact with extra-dimensional beings. As the session ended and the students began to file out, Zaxlery remained rooted to her seat. Jake looked at her with concern. Hey, you okay? You look a little. Well, I'm not great at reading Nixilian expressions, but you seem stressed. Zaxlery's voice came out as a strangled chirp. I do not understand. My people, we were told humans were weak, primitive. How is this possible? Jake's expression shifted from concern to confusion, then to something Zaxlery couldn't quite interpret. Was it amusement? Pride? Weak? Us? Jake chuckled. I mean, sure, we're not the strongest species out there. We can't breathe underwater or survive in hard vacuum. But we're adaptable, you know. We see a problem. We find a way around it. Can't breathe underwater. We build submarines. Can't survive in space. We make spacesuits. He stood up, offering a hand to Zaxlery. Come on, let's get out of here. I'll show you around campus, introduce you to some friends. You'll see, we humans might surprise you. As Zaxlery took Jake's hand and stood, she felt a profound shift in her worldview. She had come to Earth expecting to study a primitive species, to perhaps help guide them towards galactic standards. Instead, she found herself faced with a civilization that defied every preconception. For the first time in her life, Zaxlery felt an emotion she had never experienced before: doubt. Doubt in her own superiority, doubt in the wisdom of her elders, doubt in everything she had been taught about the universe and humanity's place in it. As they left the orientation hall and stepped into the bright sunlight of an Earth afternoon, Zaxlery realized that her exchange program had already taught her a valuable lesson. Never underestimate humans. They may not be the strongest, or the fastest, or the most technologically advanced species in the galaxy. But they were, without a doubt, the most surprising. Cultural misunderstandings. The weeks following orientation were a whirlwind of activity for Zaxlery. Each day brought new surprises, challenges, and a growing realization that her understanding of humans was fundamentally flawed. Her first class, comparative xenobiology, was particularly eye-opening. Professor Amelia Rodriguez, a dynamic woman with streaks of silver in her dark hair, began the lecture with a statement that sent ripples of shock through Zaxlery's exoskeleton. Humans, Professor Rodriguez declared, are classified as extreme omnivores and environmental generalists. In layman's terms, we can eat almost anything and live almost anywhere. Zaxlery's antennae twitched in disbelief. She raised a limb, the Nixilian equivalent of a raised hand. Yes, Zaxlery, the professor acknowledged. Forgive my confusion, Professor, but how is this possible? Surely such adaptability would require extensive genetic engineering. A ripple of laughter passed through the classroom. Professor Rodriguez smiled patiently. No genetic engineering required, Zaxlery. This is the result of millions of years of evolution on a highly variable planet. Humans have natural enzymes that can break down a vast array of organic compounds. Our ability to sweat allows us to regulate our body temperature in diverse climates. And our big brains. She tapped her temple. They let us figure out how to survive where our bodies alone can't. As the lecture continued, Zaxlery furiously took notes, her mind reeling. Humans could survive temperature ranges that would kill most species. They could derive nutrition from both plants and animals. They could even eat foods that were mildly toxic, building up immunities over time. After class, Zaxlery found herself in the campus cafeteria with Jake and a group of his friends. The sheer variety of foods on offer was staggering. "What is this?" Zaxlery asked, pointing at a steaming bowl in front of a student with features Jake had told her indicated Chinese ancestry. "Oh, that's mapo tofu," the student Lin replied. "Want to try some?" Before Zaxlery could respond, Jake interjected. Maybe not that one, Zax. It's pretty spicy. How about something milder to start?" Zaxlery's compound eyes flickered in confusion. "Spicy? I do not understand this term in relation to food." Another student, Aisha, laughed. "Spicy means it contains capsaicin. It's a chemical that triggers pain receptors. Some humans enjoy the sensation." Zaxlery's mandibles clicked rapidly in alarm. "You intentionally consume substances that cause pain. For enjoyment?" The table erupted in laughter. Jake patted Zaxlery's arm reassuringly. "It's not as bad as it sounds. Here, try this instead. It's called ice cream. Totally different experience." As Zaxlery cautiously tasted the cold, sweet substance, she marveled at the casual way these humans discussed consuming literal toxins. Her own species had a strictly regulated diet of nutrient pastes, carefully calibrated for optimal health. The idea of eating for pleasure was foreign to her. Over the next few days, Zaxlery found herself constantly surprised by human behavior. In her Terran history class, she learned about the countless cultures and societies that had risen and fallen on Earth. The diversity was mind-boggling. "But how do you maintain unity with so many different cultures?" she asked her classmate, Fatima. Fatima considered the question. "It's not always easy," she admitted. "We've had our share of conflicts. But diversity is also our strength. Different perspectives lead to innovation, you know." This concept of strength through diversity was difficult for Zaxlery to grasp. On Nixilia, conformity was prized above all else. Deviation from the norm was seen as a weakness, not a potential source of new ideas. As the weeks passed, Zaxlery found herself drawn into the vibrant social life of the university. She joined study groups, attended cultural festivals, and even participated in a zero-gravity baseball game, a uniquely human invention that combined sports with space technology. It was during one of these social events, a multi-species talent show, that Zaxlery had her most profound realization about human nature. The show featured acts from across the galaxy. There were Arcturian light sculptures, Betelgeusian gravity manipulations, and even a Rigelian time dilation dance. But it was the human acts that truly captured Zaxlery's attention. One human sang with a voice that seemed to contain the emotion of entire worlds. Another performed impossible feats of balance and strength that defied Zaxlery's understanding of human physiology. A third created art in real time, their hands moving with a speed and precision that rivaled machine fabricators. But it was the final act that left Zaxlery speechless. A group of humans took the stage, each holding what appeared to be primitive sound-generating devices. Instruments, Jake had called them. What followed was a performance that Zaxlery could only describe as transcendent. The music swelled and ebbed, each human contributing their part to create a whole that was greater than the sum of its parts. Zaxlery felt her very being resonate with the sound. She saw other aliens in the audience reacting similarly, moved by something that transcended species barriers. As the performance ended and the audience erupted in applause, Zaxlery turned to Jake, her voice filled with wonder. What was that?" Jake grinned. "That, my friend, was jazz. Improvised music. Each performer is making it up as they go along, but they're all working together to create something beautiful." Zaxlery's mind raced. Improvisation. Spontaneous creation. These were concepts that went against everything she had been taught about efficiency and predictability. And yet, the result was undeniably powerful. "But how?" she asked. "How can they create such complexity without a predetermined plan?" Jake's expression turned thoughtful. "That's kind of what humanity is all about, Zax. We're all improvising, all the time. Life doesn't come with a script. We face each challenge as it comes, adapt, and hopefully, create something beautiful in the process." As they left the auditorium, Zaxlery found herself reevaluating everything she thought she knew about humans. Their adaptability wasn't just physical. It was mental, emotional, cultural. They thrived on change, on challenges, on the unpredictable. She thought back to her first day on Earth, how overwhelmed she had felt by the diversity and complexity of human society. Now she was beginning to see that this very complexity was the source of humanity's strength. Humans weren't weak. They weren't primitive. They were a species that had turned adversity into advantage, that had made an art form out of adaptation. They were improvisers on a cosmic scale, jazz musicians in the grand concert of the universe. And Zaxlery, much to her surprise, found herself excited to learn more about their song. Crisis and cooperation. The day started like any other for Zaxlery. She was in the quantum physics lab, struggling to understand the human approach to subatomic manipulation, when the first tremor hit. At first, she thought it was just another quirk of Earth's dynamic geology. The concept of plate tectonics had been fascinating to learn about. But when the second, more violent shake rattled the equipment around her, she knew something was wrong. Alarms began blaring throughout the campus. A holographic projection of Dr. Ilara Chen, the AI orientation guide, appeared in the center of the lab. "Attention all students and faculty. We are experiencing a level 3-dimensional rift event. This is not a drill. Please proceed calmly to your designated safe zones." Panic erupted in the lab. Zaxlery's compound eyes darted around, taking in the chaos. Human students were rushing to secure equipment and data, their movements precise despite the fear evident on their faces. She felt a hand on her shoulder and turned to see Jake, his expression grim. "Come on, Zax. We need to get to the containment shelter." As they hurried through the corridors, Zaxlery's mind raced. Dimensional rifts were theoretical on her homeworld, dangerous tears in the fabric of space-time that could unleash untold horrors. How could humans, a species she had once thought primitive, be dealing with such a phenomenon? They reached the containment shelter, a vast underground complex that hummed with energy. Hundreds of students from various species were already gathered, their faces a mix of fear and determination. Professor Rodriguez was there, coordinating with a team of researchers. The rift is expanding faster than our models predicted, she was saying. Our standard containment fields aren't going to cut it. Zaxlery felt a chill run through her exoskeleton. If the humans couldn't contain this, what hope did any of them have? Suddenly, a booming voice cut through the chatter. All right, people, listen up. A tall, imposing human strode into the center of the room. I'm Dr. Marcus Corey, head of the Dimensional Studies Department. We've got a situation on our hands, but we've trained for this. I need volunteers for an emergency response team. To Zaxlery's surprise, hands shot up all around the room, human and alien alike. Dr. Corey nodded approvingly. Good. We're going to need all the help we can get. Our primary objective is to stabilize the rift long enough to close it. Any ideas? What followed was unlike anything Zaxlery had ever witnessed. Ideas flew back and forth, humans and aliens alike contributing their unique perspectives. A Saturnian exchange student suggested using their species' natural gravity manipulation abilities to help contain the rift's energy. An Andromedan postgrad proposed adapting their faster-than-light communication technology to create a subspace barrier. But it was a quiet human student, someone Zaxlery recognized from her xenobiology class, who offered the idea that changed everything. What if, the student said, her voice barely above a whisper, we don't try to contain the rift at all. What if we redirect it instead? The room fell silent. Dr. Corey leaned forward, intrigued. Go on, Ms. Patel. Priya Patel. The student replied, gaining confidence. We know that rifts are drawn to areas of high energy density, right? So what if we create an even more attractive target? We could use the university's fusion reactor to generate a controlled surge, drawing the rift away from populated areas. Murmurs of excitement rippled through the crowd. Dr. Corey's eyes lit up. It's risky, but it just might work. Excellent thinking, Ms. Patel. What followed was a flurry of activity that left Zaxlery's head spinning. Teams were quickly assembled, each tasked with a crucial part of the plan. Jake was assigned to the reactor team, his engineering skills suddenly vital to their survival. Zax, he called out as he was about to leave. We could use your help. Your species' understanding of quantum field theory might be the key to fine-tuning the energy output. Zaxlery felt a surge of pride, followed quickly by fear. But I am just a student. Surely there are more qualified. Jake cut her off with a grin. Welcome to crisis management, Earth style. We're all in this together, and we need every brain we can get. You in? Without fully understanding why, Zaxlery found herself nodding. I am in. The next few hours were a blur of activity. Zaxlery found herself working alongside humans and aliens, all united in their desperate bid to save the campus, and possibly the planet. She watched in awe as humans seamlessly integrated alien technologies with their own, creating hybrid systems on the fly that shouldn't have been possible. Jake and his team worked feverishly to modify the fusion reactor, pushing it to limits that made Zaxlery's antennae quiver with anxiety. But the humans showed no fear, only determination and an almost reckless creativity. As the rift's energy readings reached critical levels, Dr. Corey gave the order. Activate the reactor. Now. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, with a sound that seemed to shake reality itself, the rift began to move. Zaxlery watched in astonishment as the tear in space-time, visible now as a shimmering distortion in the air, slowly shifted away from the campus. It's working. Someone shouted. Cheers erupted throughout the command center. But their celebration was premature. Alarms began blaring as new data flooded their screens. The rift's becoming unstable, Priya Patel called out, her fingers flying over a holographic interface. The energy transfer is too rapid. At this rate, it'll collapse into a singularity. Panic threatened to overtake the room, but Dr. Corey's voice cut through the chaos. Options, people. We need options. In that moment, As humans and aliens alike scrambled for solutions, Zaxleary had an epiphany. She thought back to her lessons on human history, on their ability to turn disasters into opportunities. And suddenly, she knew what they had to do. "We must dive into it," she said, her voice surprisingly steady. All eyes turned to her. Dr. Corey's brow furrowed. "Explain." Zaxleary's words came in a rush. "The rift is a tunnel, yes, a bridge between dimensions. If we can send a probe through before it collapses, we could gather data on the other side. We could learn how to prevent this from happening again." Jake finished, his eyes wide with realization. Dr. Corey nodded slowly. "It's insane, but it's also our best shot. Can we modify a probe in time?" "We don't need to," Priya interjected. "The new quantum entanglement communicators. They're designed to maintain a signal across vast distances. If we can attach one to a simple drone, we could receive data even after the rift closes," Jake concluded. What followed was a frenzy of activity that Zaxleary could hardly believe. Humans and aliens working in perfect synergy, modifying equipment, writing code, and preparing for a journey into the unknown. And through it all, an undercurrent of excitement that Zaxleary found both baffling and exhilarating. As the makeshift probe launched into the rift, carried by a beam of focused energy from the reactor, Zaxleary felt a hand on her shoulder. She turned to see Jake, his face lit by the eerie glow of the dimensional tear. "You know," he said, a hint of awe in his voice, 100 years ago, we were still arguing about whether other dimensions even existed. Now we're sending probes into them. That's humanity for you. Give us a problem, and we'll find a way to turn it into an opportunity." As the rift finally closed, leaving behind only the steady ping of data streaming in from another dimension, Zaxleary realized she was witnessing something profound. This wasn't just crisis management. This was humanity's spirit laid bare, their relentless curiosity, their adaptability, their ability to unite and innovate in the face of the unknown. For the first time since arriving on Earth, Zaxleary felt not just amazement at humanity's capabilities, but a deep, profound respect. These beings, who she had once dismissed as weak and primitive, had just turned a potential catastrophe into a breakthrough in dimensional physics. As the celebration erupted around her, Zaxleary knew that her report back to Nexilia would contain one inescapable conclusion. Underestimating humanity was not just a mistake. It was quite possibly the most dangerous thing a species could do. Revelations and reflections. In the weeks following the dimensional rift incident, Earth Central University buzzed with excitement. The data streaming in from the probe was revolutionizing their understanding of interdimensional physics. But for Zaxleary, the aftermath brought more than scientific breakthroughs. It brought a profound identity crisis. Everything she had believed about humans, everything she had been taught, had been proven wrong. The question that gnawed at her was simple, yet terrifying. Why? Why had her people, the Nexilians, so drastically underestimated humanity? It was during a late-night study session in the library that Zaxleary finally voiced her concerns to Jake. The human had become more than just a guide to Earth culture. He had become a true friend. "Jake," she began, her antennae twitching nervously, "I must confess something. My presence here, it is not merely for academic exchange." Jake looked up from his quantum mechanics textbook, his expression curious. "Oh, what do you mean?" Zaxleary's compound eyes darted around, ensuring they were alone. "I was sent here to assess humanity, to confirm what we believe to be true, that your species was weak, primitive, easily controlled." She expected anger, perhaps even betrayal. Instead, Jake burst out laughing. "Oh man, Zax, you're not the first, and I bet you won't be the last. Let me guess, your leaders are freaking out about how quickly we've advanced." Zaxleary clicked her mandibles in confusion. You knew." Jake shrugged. "We suspected. Earth's not as naive as some species think. We've dealt with our share of alien observers over the years." This casual admission left Zaxlery reeling. But why allow it? If you knew we underestimated you, why not correct our misconceptions? Jake's expression turned thoughtful. Well, for one, it's kind of advantageous, you know. If potential adversaries underestimate you, it gives you an edge. But more importantly, he paused, considering his words. We believe in letting others form their own opinions, even if those opinions are wrong. Zaxlery struggled to comprehend this. On Nixilia, incorrect information was swiftly corrected, dissenting views silenced for the greater good. The idea of allowing misconceptions to persist seemed inefficient, even dangerous. But why? She pressed. Surely it would be better to ensure all species have accurate information. Jake leaned back in his chair. Maybe. But then you wouldn't have learned what you've learned, would you? You came here thinking one thing, and through your own experiences, you've discovered something different. That's way more powerful than if we had just told you. Zaxlery pondered this. He was right. Her first-hand experiences had changed her in ways that no amount of official information could have, but it still didn't explain the root of the misconception. As if reading her thoughts, Jake continued. You want to know why your people got us so wrong? I've got a theory. Want to hear it? Zaxlery nodded eagerly. I think, Jake said slowly, it's because you were looking at us through your own lens. You saw our diversity and thought it was chaos. You saw our adaptability and thought it was inconsistency. You saw our willingness to take risks and thought it was recklessness. He leaned forward, his eyes intense. But here's the thing, Zax. Humanity's greatest strength is that we don't have just one strength. We're not the strongest, or the fastest, or the most technologically advanced. But we might just be the most flexible, the most innovative, the most willing to try the impossible. Zaxlery felt as if her entire worldview was shifting. But how did we not see this? Jake smiled sadly. Because you were looking for a species like your own, highly specialized, efficient in specific ways. But that's not us. We're generalists. Jack of all trades, master of none, but oftentimes better than a master of one. The truth of his words hit Zaxlery like a gravitational wave. Her people, in their quest for perfection in their niche, had become unable to recognize the value of versatility. They had dismissed humanity's broad capabilities as weaknesses rather than seeing them as the incredible adaptations they were. There's something else you should know, Jake said, his tone becoming serious. We've been keeping tabs on communications from various alien species, including Nixilia. Zaxlery felt a chill run through her exoskeleton. What? What have you learned? Jake's expression was a mix of concern and determination. Your leaders are scared, Zax. They've seen what happened with the dimensional rift, how quickly we adapted and turned a crisis into an opportunity. They're starting to realize they've miscalculated, and badly. What will they do? Zaxlery asked, dreading the answer. We're not sure, Jake admitted, but some of our analysts think they might do something drastic. Try to slow down our progress, or worse. Zaxlery's mind raced. She thought of the warmth and friendship she had experienced on Earth, the incredible innovations she had witnessed. The idea of her people trying to suppress or harm humanity filled her with a sense of wrongness she couldn't quite articulate. I cannot allow that to happen, she said, surprising herself with the conviction in her voice. Jake raised an eyebrow. Oh, what are you going to do about it? Zaxlery straightened, her posture reflecting a new sense of purpose. I will tell the truth. In my reports, in my communications back home, I will make them understand what humanity truly is. A slow smile spread across Jake's face. And what are we, Zax? In your opinion? Zaxlery's answer came without hesitation. You are remarkable, unpredictable, yes, sometimes frightening in your capabilities, but also kind, curious, endlessly innovative. You are a species that turns obstacles into opportunities, that finds strength in diversity, that faces the unknown not with fear, but with excitement. She paused, her next words carrying the weight of deep conviction. You are not a threat to be controlled. You are allies to be cherished, friends to be made, partners in the great cosmic dance. Jake's smile widened. You know, Zax, I think you understand us better than a lot of humans do. As they returned to their studies, Zax Leary felt a profound shift within herself. She had come to Earth to observe, to assess, to confirm preconceived notions. Instead, she had been transformed. She realized that her mission had changed. No longer was she here to evaluate humanity's weaknesses. Now she was here to learn from their strengths, to bridge the gap between their worlds. In the soft glow of the library lights, surrounded by the accumulated knowledge of a species she had gravely underestimated, Zax Leary made a silent vow. She would be more than just an observer. She would be an ambassador, a translator of cultures, a builder of bridges between the stars. As she looked at Jake, engrossed in his studies, a new emotion welled up inside her. It was not the detached curiosity of a scientist studying a subject, nor the wary respect of a potential adversary. It was something warmer, more profound. It was hope. Hope for a future where humans and Nixilians could stand side by side, each learning from the other, each made stronger by their differences. In that moment, Zax Leary realized that she had gained more than just knowledge during her time on Earth. She had gained a new perspective, a new understanding of the infinite possibilities that lay in cooperation rather than competition. And as the first light of dawn began to filter through the library windows, Zax Leary knew that her greatest discoveries on Earth were yet to come. Interstellar implications. The day of Zax Leary's departure from Earth arrived sooner than she had anticipated. As she stood on the teleportation pad, her belongings packed and her mind swirling with the experiences of the past year, she felt a profound sense of change. She was not the same Nixilian who had arrived on this planet, full of preconceptions and hidden agendas. She was leaving as something new, a bridge between worlds. Jake and a group of her closest human and alien friends had gathered to see her off. There were tears, mostly from the humans, and solemn nods from the stoic Andromedans, but underlying it all was a sense of hope and anticipation. Remember, Jake said, gripping Zax Leary's upper appendage in what she had learned was a gesture of affection and support. You're not just going back with scientific knowledge. You're carrying something much more important. Zax Leary's antennae quivered with emotion. Understanding, she chittered softly, and friendship. As the teleportation sequence initiated, Zax Leary's last view of Earth was of her friends waving goodbye, their faces a vibrant mosaic of colors and expressions that she now knew represented the true strength of humanity, their diversity. The journey back to Nixilia Prime was instantaneous, yet Zax Leary felt as if she had traversed not just space, but time and perspective as well. As she materialized on her home world, the familiar sights, sounds, and scents of her species surrounded her. But now, they felt somehow limiting, constrained. Her first meeting was with the High Council of Nixilia, the governing body that had sent her on this mission. As she entered the Grand Chamber, its crystalline architecture reflecting the light of Nixilia's 3 moons, Zax Leary felt a mix of trepidation and determination. Observer Zax Leary, the head counselor's voice boomed, "We have received your reports over the past year. They are disturbing. Surely you must have been compromised. The humans cannot possibly be as you have described." Zax Leary stood tall, her posture reflecting a confidence she had gained on Earth. "Respected counselors, I assure you, every word in my reports is true. More than that, I fear that even my most positive assessments may have understated the potential of humanity." A murmur ran through the council. Zax Leary continued, her voice steady. "We have made a grave error in our assessment of Earth and its inhabitants. They are not weak. They are not primitive. They are a force of nature, a species of innovators and adapters who turn adversity into advantage." She proceeded to recount her experiences, the dimensional rift crisis, the incredible adaptability of human society, the leaps in technology she had witnessed. With each revelation, she could see the council's composure cracking, their certainty giving way to confusion, and in some cases, fear. "What you are suggesting," one counselor sputtered, "is that we have a potential rival for galactic dominance on our hands. We must act now, before they become too powerful." Zaxlery's response was immediate and forceful. "No, that is precisely the wrong approach. Humanity does not seek dominance. They seek partnership, cooperation. Their greatest achievements come not from conquest, but from collaboration." She paused, letting her words sink in. "Counselors, we stand at a crossroads. We can choose fear, aggression, and eventual conflict. A conflict I am not certain we would win. Or we can choose understanding, cooperation, and a future brighter than anything we could achieve alone." The chamber fell silent. Zaxlery could see the counselors processing her words, their minds grappling with ideas that challenged centuries of Nixilian philosophy. Finally, the head counselor spoke. "Your words carry great weight, Observer Zaxlery. But words alone are not enough. We must see for ourselves." What followed was unprecedented in Nixilian history. A delegation of high counselors, accompanied by leading scientists and cultural experts, embarked on a journey to Earth. Zaxlery, recognized for her unique perspective and experience, was appointed as the official liaison. The arrival of the Nixilian delegation on Earth marked a turning point in galactic relations. Humanity, true to form, welcomed them with open arms and minds, eager to share knowledge and forge new connections. Over the following months, Zaxlery watched with pride as her people's preconceptions crumbled in the face of human reality. They marveled at the diversity of Earth's ecosystems, each teeming with life that had adapted to its unique challenges. They were astounded by the variety of human cultures, each with its own perspective, yet united in their shared humanity. But it was in the realm of science and technology that the true paradigm shift occurred. The Nixilians, long convinced of their technological superiority, found themselves humbled by human ingenuity. Joint research projects sprang up, combining Nixilian precision with human creativity to achieve breakthroughs neither species could have managed alone. The dimensional rift technology, refined through collaboration, opened up new avenues of exploration and communication across the galaxy. Nixilian quantum computing, integrated with human intuitive interfaces, revolutionized data processing and AI development. As news of this unprecedented cooperation spread, other alien species took notice. The Andromedans, the Rigelians, even the notoriously isolationist Betelgeusians, all began to reassess their stance towards Earth and humanity. 1 year after the Nixilian delegation's arrival, a historic summit was held at the United Nations headquarters in New York. Representatives from over 100 alien species gathered alongside human leaders to discuss the future of galactic cooperation. Zaxlery, now serving as the Nixilian ambassador to Earth, took the podium. Looking out over the assembled delegates, a sea of diverse forms and colors that would have been unthinkable on Nixilia just 2 years ago, she felt a swell of emotion. "Distinguished delegates," she began, her translator conveying the passion in her voice, "we stand on the brink of a new era. For too long, many of us viewed humanity as a curiosity at best, a potential threat at worst. We saw their diversity as chaos, their adaptability as inconsistency, their curiosity as recklessness." She paused, her compound eyes scanning the room. "We were wrong. In humanity, we have found not a rival, not a threat, but a mirror that reflects the best of what all of us can be. Their strength lies not in homogeneity, but in diversity, not in rigid specialization, but in flexible adaptation, not in fearing the unknown, but in embracing it." Zaxlery's voice grew stronger, filled with conviction. "The humans have a saying, 'The whole is greater than the sum of its parts.' I propose that we, the species of this vast galaxy, are those parts. And together, in cooperation and mutual understanding, we can create a whole that is truly magnificent." As applause filled the chamber, Zaxlery felt a tap on her shoulder. She turned to see Jake, now serving as a junior diplomat, grinning widely. "Not bad for someone who once thought we were primitive weaklings," he teased. Zaxlery's mandibles clicked in what Jake now recognized as laughter. "I believe the human phrase is, 'I stand corrected.'" As they looked out over the cheering delegates, Zaxlery reflected on her journey. She had come to Earth expecting to find a species to study, perhaps to guide. Instead, she had found partners, teachers, friends. She had discovered that true strength lies not in perfecting a single trait, but in embracing the endless possibilities of diversity and cooperation. The galaxy was entering a new age, one of unprecedented collaboration and discovery. And at the heart of it all was humanity, not as conquerors or rulers, but as catalysts, sparking a chain reaction of innovation and understanding that would reshape the cosmos. As the summit continued with ideas and proposals flying back and forth in a dizzying array of languages and thought forms, Zaxlery knew that the greatest adventure was just beginning. The stars, once distant and cold, now seemed to pulse with the warmth of possibility. Humanity had not just reached for the stars. They had brought the entire galaxy together, igniting a brilliant new future for all species. And Zaxlery, once a mere observer, now found herself at the heart of this cosmic revolution, forever grateful for the day she had first set foot on the remarkable planet called Earth.